Okay, continuing on with Whingdingdilly, Part 2. As he lumbered out into the open road, he found the going much easier. It was just a matter of keeping his long striding camel legs from overrunning the plodding elephant legs. He was clumping along at a pretty good clip when all at once he heard Orvy calling. "Here, Scamp! Here, Scamper boy!" He was coming up the road just over the next hill. If Orvy should come face to face with a Whingdingdilly, especially in the eerie light of evening, it might scare his scrawny little friend out of a year's growth. Well, that wouldn't do. In one clumsy scamp over the fence, he went sprawling headlong into a wheat field. There he remained flat on the ground, scarcely breathing, and as still as a wheat shock. When Orvy came over the top of the hill, he stopped for one last call, such a loud, long "Here, Scamper!" that it echoed for a mile across the countryside. Then he listened for an answering bark, but there was only the faraway crowing of a rooster. Where could he be, wondered Orvy, as he turned and headed back down the road. Scamp raised his head to watch until the boy was no more than a speck in the distance. Then, with an effort, he hauled himself to his feet and hobbled over the fence back onto the road. By this time, he was getting leg weary, and he was plodding along ever so slowly. It was growing dark when he finally reached the Jarvis farm. Cautiously, he pushed open the gate, tiptoed across the yard to the house, and peeked into the kitchen window. The family had just finished dinner, everyone but Orvy, who sat at the table staring at his plate. "Scamp is always home by dinner time," said the boy. "Something's happened to him, or he'd be here." If old Scamp's really gone for good," said his father, "then I'll tell you what. Armstrongs have a new colt, and if they'll sell him he's all yours. How would you like that, son?" "It's not the same," said Orvy. "You can't get to know a horse, not like you can a dog. Old Scamp understood just about everything I said. He was a lot smarter than any horse, and besides that, he's a real friend." Scamp could hardly believe his big floppy ears. So Orvy didn't really mean it when he called him a silly old dog. In fact, Orvy thought he was smart, and Scamp heaved a great sigh of relief. But what would Orvy think of a Whingdingdilly? Scamp decided to wait until morning to find out. He stood there in the dark until he was sure everyone had gone to bed. Then the Whingdingdilly stretched out his full length on the front porch with a monstrous yawn. "Maybe this is nothing but a bad dream," he thought, "and when I wake up, I'll be the same as ever." Pretty soon he was sound asleep and snoring like a rhinoceros. The next thing Scamp knew, it was morning, and Orvy was shouting, "Dad! Mom! Come quick! There's a great big thing out here!" The Whingdingdilly struggled to his feet, looking wildly about for a big thing, and then he remembered that he was the thing, and went stumbling backwards off the porch and out into the yard, and in one clumsy leap he was over the fence and galloping away down the road. His head was in such a whirl, he didn't see a man who was driving cows to pasture until he was almost upon them. In a panic, the man jumped into a ditch, and the bawling, terrified cows went crashing through a fence, scattering in all directions. Another man was so shocked at the sight of the gigantic beast, he lost control of his tractor, and the machine went plowing through a haystack to end up in the duck pond. Then there was a near head-on collision with the horse and buggy. The horrified horse left the road in one leap and to go scrambling up a telephone pole, buggy and all. Now the Whingdingdilly didn't dare stop or even slow down, and he kept on going full gallop all the way back to the woods. Scamp was hoping Zildy would understand his awful predicament and undo her magic spell. Once again he fought his way through the tangle of trees. When he reached the tree house, he gave the door a resounding thump and with his snout, and then watched for Zildy to pop her head out the window. But no Zildy appeared. The shutters were latched and the door was locked and bolted. If she's gone, Scamp reasoned, she'll be back sooner or later, so all I can do is wait. It would be a long wait. Early that morning, Zildy had packed her suitcase, spruced herself up in a fancy best, and left on a trip to visit her sister in Massachusetts. She hadn't sailed away on a broomstick like most witches do. Zildy was in no hurry, so she had taken the train. Now she was riding along in comfort, munching on sugar cookies, and with no thought whatsoever what might have happened to the Whingdingdilly. Uh-oh, this doesn't look good. In the meantime, the farmers in the neighborhood had formed a small army, and with guns and pitchforks they followed the trail of the huge footprints straight into the woods. But they didn't dare go in for now. For now the woods were more frightening than ever. "We'll wait him out," said the Moose Mumford, the leader of the army. "The minute the monster shows his face, powie, we'll pop him off." The farmers stood watch into the evening and then all through the night, and when morning came there was still no sign of the monster. "From now on," yawned Moose, "we'll split up in bunches, with some taking the night watch and others taking the day." But after watching the woods night and day for a week, the biggest thing to come out was a rabbit. By the time the news of the monster had spread all over the county, all the way to Central City, and finally to Claxton J. Pringle, the best showman. C.J. Pringle's Palace of Living Wonders. Menagerie of the Marvelous and the Amazing. This looks like Mr. Pringle himself here. C.J. Pringle's Palace of Living Wonders towered majestically over the city square. Over the main entrance was a sign reading Menagerie of the Marvelous and the Amazing, the most colossal collection of incredible creatures to be seen anywhere on earth. The great showman had traveled all over the world in search of spectacular new attractions for his menagerie, and when he read in the newspaper that a fantastic giant of a beast was running loose in the county, CJ was jubilant. "Eureka!" he cried. "Why, if this beast is half what they say it is, it could be worth a fortune. But first I must get my hands on the thing." Within an hour, CJ had rounded up the roughest, toughest crew of roustabouts, and they took off in their Hupperson autobus, followed by a 10-ton beast-moving van. The great showman was in a desperate hurry, so he went at top speed all the way with the horn blaring full blast, warning everyone to clear the road. And in no time they came skidding to a stop alongside the woods where all the farmers rushed out to greet them. "If you've come after the monster," said Moose Mulford, "he's somewhere back in those trees, but you better be careful. He's a real whopper." "The bigger the better," said CJ, and then turning to his men he warned, "Don't get too rough. I want the beast all in one piece." "Easy does it," they promised, and with lassos, chains, and leg irons, the roustabouts went charging into the woods. Uh-oh. By the time Scamp had discovered that all the crashing around in the brush was about, he was surrounded. He tried to run, but let me start over on that one. By the time Scamp had discovered what all the crashing around in the brush was about, he was surrounded. He tried to run, but after one turn around the sycamore, the men closed in, grabbing onto his legs, his neck, and his tail. In a fast and furious struggle, they wrestled him to the ground, roped and chained him from head to foot, and dragged him away through the woods. We're going to pause there.